guys, nice to see you. Let's pull up our sleeves and get to work. This part's really easy, and if you stick around till the end, you'll see how I actually use this cream of something soup to make our dinner tonight. I have just a few ingredients here. I have powdered milk. You can use whole fat milk, or you can use non-fat milk. The whole fat milk will last about 6 months, and the non-fat milk you'll last about a year. I have cornstarch. I have bouillon powder. You can use your homemade, or you can use different varieties. This one here is Luda, and it's gluten-free. The cornstarch is also gluten-free. And then you have a variety of spices. I'll be upfront and honest. I'm using the recipe from Mary's Nest, and I'll link her video in the description below so that you can pop over and have a look at her version of it, and we'll go from there. You're going to need a 1 quart jar to put your product in, or whatever container you're going to store it in. I'm going to use a canning funnel. I have a bowl and a whisk, and I have my measuring spoons and measuring cups and my ingredients. And that's that. This is a brand of whole milk I have never seen anywhere before. Our little grocery store here near us, the little grocery store near us gets some pretty obscure things sometimes. I need 2 cups of whole milk. This doesn't have to be precise. Close is good enough. That was a, how much is in there? It doesn't even say. That was a 500 grams, so I used 2 cups out of that. I probably used half. So that was 2 cups of whole milk, 3/4 of a cup of cornstarch, big poofy powdery mess, 1/4 cup of the bouillon powder. I'm using chicken, but if you wanted to do a beef base or a vegetarian base or whatever, you could do that. And then you can use 2 teaspoons, up to 2 teaspoons of any seasoning that you like, or you can just leave it as it is. I'm not going to add salt because there's already salt in my bouillon. I'm going to use garlic, onion, celery seed, and pepper. Because that's the way we like to eat. When I use celery seed, I like to bruise it a little. So I've got 1/4 teaspoon here. Oh, half a teaspoon. I'm using half a teaspoon of each of these. But my celery, I like to crush it up. I don't know if it really does anything. It might release the oils. A mortar and pestle would work really well. And half a teaspoon of onion powder. I don't use the salts. I use the powders. And then pepper. Of course, you can use more pepper when you have it cooking on the stove. And I'm just going to whisk those together. You could put them in a jar and shake them the way that Mary does, but I'm a little bit fussy about this. I want this mixed a little better. It's easier on my muscles to whisk than it is to shake that jar. And there we have it. Now comes the fun part. Can I do this without making a mess? Let me try. I'm going to use my hands to create a bit of a not quite a funnel, but a trough, and then shake it over top of the funnel and zoop, see where we can go. And I can use my thumbs to push that in too. It's all in the way you hold your mouth, right? Where's my lid? You can put on a canning jar lid and vacuum seal it like Mary did in her video. Oh, I grabbed the wrong size. And then I'm just going to put one of these ball lids on it. Oh, if I get it started right. And there we go. Now I have a soup base that's stable on my shelf for 6 months, because that's whole milk, right? Yeah, 6 months. Give me a minute to clean up this, and I'll meet you over there to show you what we're having for dinner. If you're enjoying this content, be sure to hit the like button and share it with your friends, and please subscribe. That helps my channel to grow, and it all helps YouTube to find me just a little bit more. See you in a few minutes. Tonight's dinner is going to be starring the cream of soup base. I'm going to use that creamy soup base. I'm not going to make it as liquid as soup. I'm going to make it a little thicker, a little more concentrated, maybe not as much water, to make it turn out more like a sauce instead of a soup. I'm going to be using some of our Canadian breast chicken. I'll dice that up and put that in a pan, and you know, all that stuff. And I'm going to have the sauce with peppers and onions and bacon bits, and we're going to serve that over a gluten-free choice, spaghetti squash. I grew this in my garden. There are a couple of ways we can prepare this. We can cut it in half, scoop out the seeds, and roast it or steam it. And the other option is to take it like this and cook it whole. I'm going to poke some holes into it so steam can release, and then we can cut it after it's at least partly cooked, so that I can get through this skin without breaking my knife, or without risking cutting myself. So I'm just going to carefully poke some holes for steam. I'm just going to put that on a cookie sheet and roast it in the oven. It's going to take about 45 minutes, maybe longer, and I'm going to do 350 just in my regular oven. I'm excited for this dinner. This is from our own garden. That's exciting, and our own chickens that I harvested myself. Okay, here we go. Okay, my squash was in the oven for about 45 minutes. I'm going to try to cut it open. Oh, it sounds and feels like it's still raw. Still a little too crunchy. But I can get the knife through easier than if it was completely raw. Let's see if I can get this apart. Yay! If you were wanting to save the seeds to grow next year's crop, you would want to scoop them out raw. This method won't work for saving seeds. I'm going to use an ice cream scoop, and I'm just going to scoop off the seeds. Because this is still raw near the center, I'm not actually scooping into the spaghetti air sort of part of it. This is still hot, but it's cool enough that I can touch it. That was 350 for 45 minutes, but this is a very large spaghetti squash. Back onto the cookie sheet it goes. Okay, that's going back in the oven. The squash seeds are not going into the composter or the garbage. They're going to the chickens. From what I understand, squash and pumpkin seeds are really good for deworming your chickens. So every month or so, my chickens get some squash and pumpkin seeds. Dinner's gonna be a little late tonight. It's already 6:45. Yikes. I'm going to put some olive oil in the pan. Let's turn that on and get that rolling. I'm using jarred garlic, so I'm gonna put some garlic in the pan. I'm gonna put half of the onions in the pan, and our chicken. So that was a tablespoon or so, maybe 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I've got about a cup of onions, so I've got 2 small onions. You could use 1 large onion, and that is 2 chicken breasts. These were small breasts, so they've also got the tenderloin attached or added, but basically 2 chicken breasts. I'm going to put some fresh black pepper on there. Mary's recipe for the soup calls for 1 1/4 cups of cold water, and you want cold water because it works better with the cornstarch in your soup. My measuring cup is not going to fit inside the jar, so I have to kind of figure that out another way. I'll do it like this. So that is 1 1/4 cups of water and 1/3 cups of your soup base. Because I do want this thicker, I held back 1/4 cup of water, but Mary's recipe calls for it. I'm just going to whisk those together here. There we go. There's that. Now let's go back to that stove. Because cast iron is sensitive to temperature shock, I'm going to temper this a little bit. I've turned down the heat on the stove. The meat is almost cooked. And instead of putting the cold water soup base on there straight away, I'm going to put on the room temperature vegetables. And I'm throwing in a couple of tablespoons of bacon bits. That'll cool the frying pan down a little bit. Those peppers and onions will cool the pan down a bit. And I don't want them cooked through. I don't want them mushy. I just want them to start to warm a little. It smells amazing already. The peppers and onions and bacon and the chicken and garlic and all of that. It just smells amazing. So I'm going to take that now. I'm going to make a heap in the middle. And I'm going to make sure that I pour my, oh, there's a whole onion there. Let's break that up before it goes out of my sight. I'm going to make a heap of the hot ingredients here in the middle. And then I'll pour the soup base right in on that so it tempers the soup base too. There. I didn't crack my pan. Let's see how that's going to thicken up. I'm going to double that recipe. So I've made another batch of the soup base. I'm just going to add that in. I have that on a medium heat. I'm just waiting for the soup base to thicken. The vegetables will soften from the heat. The bacon flavoring will blend through. The pepper and garlic and everything else will blend through. It smells incredible. I have seen other soup bases, the cream of anything soup. Some recipes I've seen have powdered potato flakes in them, and I'm sensitive to potatoes, so I could not use those other recipes. I had to go with something that doesn't have potatoes. A lot of potato flakes also have sulfites in them. It's to keep them from turning colors while they're before they dry. And sulfites are a preservative, but sodium metabisulfite is a big one, a very common one. I can feel this thickening on the bottom of the pan. Now I just have to hope that the spaghetti squash is done soon. Mary's point in her video is you know when the soup is done when on the back of a wooden spoon, let's get this all fresh, you draw your finger through it and it, it's hot, and it stays separated like that. So this is perfect. This is as thick as it gets. It looks divine. Smells fantastic. I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm going to turn this down just so it stays warm until that squash is ready. That darn squash. So there we have spaghetti squash with chicken and cream sauce. And some black pepper on top. Now I'm going to give this to Dan and see what he thinks. Tell me what you think, Dan.
Ooh, it looks good. Oh, I'm kind of hungry.
It is late. It's 7:15.
Here we go. It's delicious. I love it.
Good. Is this a do again recipe?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Good. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and go over to Mary's Nest and have a look at her original recipe and give it a whirl. It smells fantastic. I haven't had a taste yet. Give me a second. So I've got mine. I know I like spaghetti squash, but I want to see how the chicken turned out. That's good. As a pasta sauce, I might put more garlic in it, but as a soup base, that's fantastic. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you next time.
Here we go. It's delicious. I love it.
Good. Is this a do again recipe?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Good.